everybody. We are on chapter 27 right now in Proverbs. We are reading from the Message translation. Don't brashly announce what you're going to do tomorrow. You don't know the first thing about tomorrow. Don't call attention to yourself. Let others do that for you. Carrying a log across your shoulders while you're hefting a boulder with your arms is nothing compared to the burden of putting up with a fool. We're blasted by anger and swamped by rage, but who can survive jealousy? A spoken reprimand is better than approval that's never expressed. The wounds from a lover are worth it. Kisses from an enemy do you in. When you've stuffed yourself, you refuse dessert. When you're starved, you could eat a horse. People who won't settle down, wandering hither and yon, are like restless birds, flitting to and fro. Just as lotions and fragrance give sensual delight, a sweet friendship refreshes the soul. Don't leave your friends or your parents' friends, and run home to your family when things get rough. Better a nearby friend than a distant family. Become wise, dear child, and make me happy. Then nothing the world throws my way will upset me. A prudent person sees trouble coming and ducks. A simpleton walks in blindly and is clobbered. Hold tight to collateral on any loan to a stranger. Be wary of accepting what a transient has pawned. If you wake your friend in the early morning by shouting, "Rise and shine!" it will sound to him more like a curse than a blessing. A nagging spouse is like the drip, drip, drip of a leaky faucet. You can't turn it off, and you can't get away from it. You use steel to sharpen steel, and one friend sharpens another. If you care for your orchard, you'll enjoy its fruit. If you honor your boss, you'll be honored. Just as water mirrors your face, so your face mirrors your heart. Hell has a voracious appetite, and lust just never quits. The purity of silver and gold is tested by putting them in the fire. The purity of human hearts is tested by giving them a little fame. Pound on a fool all you like. You can't pound out foolishness. Know your sheep by name. Carefully attend to your flocks. Don't take them for granted. Possessions don't last forever, you know. And then when the crops are in and the harvest is stored in the barns, you can knit sweaters from the lamb's wool and sell your goats for a profit. There will be plenty of milk and meat to last your family through the winter. So part of Proverbs is teaching us how to become more mature. And it works for any human, whether they believe in Jesus or not. And while I think that you would benefit greatly from a relationship with Jesus Christ, these pieces of wisdom in Proverbs have been used outside of the church. They are kind of like scientific laws, like they work, whether you believe in the Judeo-Christian God or not. Like let's take for instance, you use steel to sharpen steel and one friend sharpens another. And you can really get deep into this on how the friends that you choose will influence you. We are greatly influenced by the 5 people that we spend the most time around. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you might be like, then I'm greatly influenced by a toddler and a baby. But really, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and in this day and age, a lot of that time can be spent in your car listening to wise people, either on podcasts, YouTube, the internet, all that stuff. If you have friends who do not sharpen you but sort of deaden you or make you dull, that also can happen. So you should be very wise about the people that you spend time with. Another funny verse that works all the time is verse 14. If you wake your friend in the early morning by shouting, "Rise and shine," it will sound to him more like a curse than a blessing. So this is kind of telling us to be wise about the way that we do things, the manner that we do things, to be mature about it. Because if you go and you want to bless somebody, you want to help them out, if you do it in a manner that is aggravating or aggressive or not the right time, that person, their first reaction, and they might not get over it, is going to be like, this is not worth it, And whereas you want to do something good for them, they might end up rejecting it altogether just because it seems more like a curse to put up with you because you're just not mature. You just don't know how and when to do things, So this is encouraging us, pointing things out, helping us to become better people. People who won't settle down, wander hither and yon, are like restless birds flitting to and fro. That's verse 8. So really, the people who don't sit down and do things, just because you're busy doesn't mean you're getting anything done. You're not doing anything. And I think in America these days, a lot of us are noticing this. Our days are very busy, but we don't feel like we are actually accomplishing anything. And it's just a warning to us, hey, movement does not mean accomplishment. Verse 5 is interesting, and this can get pretty deep, I think, both philosophically and psychologically. A spoken reprimand is better than approval that's never expressed. So that gets into somebody who corrects you, that does it maturely. You know, you're being corrected, you're being disciplined, but that's better than going your entire life with someone thinking that they love you but never expressing it to you. And goodness, we have tons of books and movies about this all the time, about how people grow up and they have to sort of convince themselves as adults, well, my dad loved me in his way, well, my mom loved me in her way. And that's a very mature take on it, because if you've never been told that you're loved, you can have a lot of different issues because of it. And so I think this is to encourage us to express that love to our kids, to our friends, to our family, to make sure that they actually know how we feel about them. And it's not to dissuade us from giving correction when people need it. There's another verse that I wanted to look at. Verse 3 I thought was pretty interesting. Carrying a log across your shoulders while you're hefting a boulder with your arms, so pretty impossible to do that, I think, is nothing compared to the burden of putting up with a fool. That's an interesting way to put it. So when you are burdened with a fool, so somebody who refuses to mature, refuses to seek wisdom, refuses to stay quiet when they don't know anything, refuses to listen to correction, refuses to listen to the other side, what other people have to say. What else have we learned about being a fool? So many things. So you're putting up with that sort of person, and it's so hard to put up with them, right? I mean, you can barely talk to them. It's not even, in fact, Solomon has told us in the Proverbs that it's not even worth speaking to fools, because it doesn't get through to them. They just don't get it. But that translation is a little bit different. In the Amplified Bible, it says, stone is heavy and sand weighty, but a fool's unreasoning wrath is heavier and more intolerable than both of them. And so that's talking about a fool's anger, right? And so if you are somebody who, and I bet you know someone like this, who doesn't listen, who refuses to learn, who won't seek out knowledge, information, wisdom, who speaks before they really understand something, who thinks more of themselves than anyone else, who can't take correction, all these things that we've learned what a fool is. I'm sure you know someone like that. And in fact, we talk about all the time how in America we can't have conversations anymore because we claim that both political sides won't listen to the other. Both sides are acting foolishly on average, right? But this also goes into a fool's wrath is unbearable. And so when you are like that, when you refuse, you are so entrenched in your own foolishness and you refuse to get out of it, you can become a really angry person because you don't understand why people keep trying to talk to you or talk you out of your foolishness. You entrench yourself so deeply in it, and then you get angry. And we see this all the time. We see it on the news. We see it just in our own families and friends, and it's getting kind of crazy where people won't listen to each other. But one of the commentaries that I looked at was talking about how a fool's wrath is the kind of wrath that doesn't care about the greater group, right? So think of a small business maybe you own or work at, and there's just a fool there, right? They just think they know everything about the job. They think they do everything better. They disparage everybody else's work. You can't correct them when they do something wrong, or possibly when you figure out a better way to do stuff. Just think that they're so foolish in their job. Their anger does not care about the other people in the group, and so they will act on their anger and never think about anybody else. So you might actually have somebody like this at your job. They might explode, they might yell, and they do not care. They don't even think about how it would affect the other people in the office, right? And so it's saying it is so difficult to deal with a person like this. Like, it's almost impossible. You can, a stone is heavy and sand is heavy, but it would be better to try to carry those two things. And in the message, a boulder or a log across your shoulder, it would be easier to carry that than deal with a fool. And so, don't be a fool, because nobody's going to want to be around you. And B, don't hire fools, because they're going to make your business crazy. Now, if you have a fool in your family, you might just have to distance yourself a little bit, or do a whole lot of praying, I guess. But I just found that there are certain verses that you can get really, really deep on, just like, wow, I really don't want to be a fool, because that turns me into somebody who really only cares and thinks about myself. I don't think about the others and how my actions and my wrath and my words and everything else is affecting everyone else. You really get so consumed within yourself. So that will conclude our study of chapter 27. We'll be back with chapter 28 tomorrow. If you like this video, please hit like. Please hit the subscription button below and the bell if you want to be notified of other videos to come. See you later.